The story is set in Labyrinth City. We are introduced to Nick, a commendable swashbuckler of the party named Masters of War. All of that changed when Argas kicked him out of the party. As if things couldn't get worse, his girlfriend broke up with him. Coping to accept both of these losses, he finds himself exchanging his adventurer life to becoming an idol otaku. It all started when he sat under the rain, ruminating about what had transpired in his old party. He had discovered that Garaso, a fellow member, had stolen money from the party and had told on him. Argas demanded that he apologize to Garaso, saying that he didn't agree with how he handled things. His flashback is interrupted by the arrival of an enthusiastic blue-haired girl named Agate, who gives him a ticket, saying that she is an aspiring new idol. He was uninterested at first, but once he attended the concert, he instantly bought into the idol otaku lifestyle. But he quickly realizes that he will have to work in order to sustain this lifestyle and to feed himself, so he goes to the Adventurers Guild newbies. However, with Argus' words in mind, he becomes hesitant of approaching other people, feeling that he couldn't trust so easily anymore, and he ends up not joining any party. Dejected, he buys himself a drink at a nearby tavern. He sits alone at his table, while the rest of the place is filled with people celebrating about forming parties. Because the tavern is packed, 3 other adventurers were placed at Nick's table: a fierce-looking mage with expensive clothing, an excommunicated cleric who still smelled of the cabaret club, and a mysterious Dragonian that resembled a wounded animal. Coincidentally, all of them have not had any luck in finding a party, and as they learn later on, all of them had the same past experience of betrayal. In a series of flashbacks, we learned that the mage is named Tiana, the daughter of the Arenafelt clan. She believed that magic doesn't exist to make lives easier, but rather to learn more about the world and its people. She was later falsely accused by her fiancé, Alex, of bullying Lynn, the eldest daughter of the Delcott family, and seducing the teachers at the school. It becomes apparent that Alex only said all that due to pride and as a way to break up with her. What Alex said made her realize that she might have been only looking after herself, so she starts a journey outside of her expensive life. However, she realizes that it won't be easy for her to get hired because she was an inexperienced noblewoman. When she stumbles upon a dragon race betting flyer, she finds herself developing an addiction in gambling. This then leads to her fateful arrival at the tavern, where the 4 adventurers meet. Next, we see a flashback of the cleric Zem, who once lived in a city known for its medicinal herbs and worship of the god of divine inspiration, Medler. He sits in a field while a young girl named Muriel excitedly brings him some pill-card grass, which he rewards with a coin. Later that night, Muriel asks him if she likes her and insists that she's all grown up. However, Zem gently rejects her and tells her to spend her offers with someone else instead. His response angers Muriel and she runs off. The next day, Zem is suddenly ambushed by his fellow clerics in his home, accusing him of violating Muriel and even paying her money. He was kept in a cell for 3 months before being jeered off of their city. After being banished, he finds himself in a restaurant of a woman who he later sleeps with. The next morning, she advised him to go to Labyrinth City to become an adventurer and go see the world. He eventually follows her advice and thus brings us to the present day at the tavern. The group prods the Dragonian current to share her past. She says that something important was stolen from her by the person she considers the most important in her life. We then see Nick having a dream about giving his now ex-girlfriend a pendant before she broke up with him. When he wakes up, he discovers that the 4 had drunkenly slept at Tiana's apartment, which would later mark the beginning of their adventures as a party. The party among the 4 is officially formed, but now they need a name. After briefly learning that Kuran is deemed a survivor because she was able to come back alone from a C-rank labyrinth, they decide to name themselves survivors. As the 4 of them have all had similar experiences of betrayal, they set out 3 laws for their party. 1. No interfering with others' hobbies. 2. Watch the money. And 3. Come back alive no matter what. Nick decides that the money should not be assigned to just one person, but that each of them have a role. When he starts assigning tasks, Zem calls him out, saying that what he's doing is making it seem like he's dividing the task, but he's actually arranging things to his benefit. Here, they realize that they need to build trust with each other by being skeptical. They establish that they need to both trust and doubt each other in order to not repeat the same mistakes from their past. However, they all share the sentiment that they want to learn to trust again. As a G-rank party, they can only explore 3 labyrinths, the bosses of 2 of which they need to defeat to proceed to the F rank. Their adventure begins at a lower ranked labyrinth called the Sticky Aqueducts, essentially a practice area for them to learn the ropes. Nick says it's unlikely that one of them dies there, but they might if they let themselves get too cocky. They encounter their first prey, a slime. They notice that the slime is eating grass, and Nick warns them that it might look harmless, but it will eat anything and grow big enough to eat creatures like cows. Then he teaches them that to defeat a slime without weapons is to just grab them by core, which can be used to exchange for money. As they trudge further into the labyrinth, Nick notices that they are getting along well and feels like they were right in forming a party together. However, this didn't last long as Tiana starts bragging about her past victories against monsters and becomes arrogant about defeating the slimes. As payback to a slime attacking her, she casts an ice spell towards the monster but accidentally targets Kuren instead, who quickly deflects it with her sword. This creates tension between the two members of the party. Kuren says that she wanted to believe in Tiana but warns her that she might be the one to make a mistake next time. They eventually reach the top floor where they meet the boss of the sticky aqueducts. Tiana, rush as ever, charges first with an ice spear, which prompts the slime to cause a big explosion. As the team cleans the slime off of themselves in a nearby lake, Nick informs them that big slime sends slime everywhere in reaction to powerful magic. He says that they might be able to trust each other more if they shared about themselves. He explains that because they were exploited before, they might be hesitant in revealing their true skills. As they share about themselves, Tiana walks up to Kuren and apologizes for her mistake earlier that day. She reveals that she's adept at wind, water, lightning, and earth magic, but she barely uses fire. She reveals that she's helpless against earth and fire attacks, as well as quick attacks at the close range. This gesture surprises Kuren. However, Tiana's vulnerability made Kuren trust her more, and the tension between the two has lessened. The party's next target are goblins in the Goblin Forest, which they learn are weak but fight in packs. Using her detect magic, Tiana is able to scan the place for the nearest goblins. She detects that one of them nearby has way too much magic to be a goblin, which Nick assumes to be an ogre. In spite of its power, they decide to pursue it. Since ogres are resistant to magic, Tiana and Zem are assigned as distractors while Nick and Kuren lead the charge. Kuren had the task of defeating the ogre with her attack power, but required her to trust Tiana to back her up. With her back turned to Tiana, trusting that she wouldn't hurt her, Kuren delivers a single fire dragon strike to defeat the ogre. The party emerges victorious and gains a little more trust in each other. As they gather their spoils of battle, Kuren stares at a swan pendant, thinking to herself that he didn't teach her anything. However, Nick accidentally flings himself onto Kuren and with the horn of the goblin, cracks the swan pendant. In a dark and mysterious cave, we enter a flashback of Kuren's life before she met the party. A bug leads us to the unconscious body of Kuren holding the swan pendant from the previous episode. As she regains her consciousness, she slowly realizes that it wasn't all a dream and tries to recall what had happened. It all started when she was walking in a busy market, finding herself gravitating towards the stall with pendants. She takes interest in the swan pendant, but the vendor decides to take advantage of her naivety and sells the pendant at a much higher price. She walks off as she could not afford it, but the vendor calls her back. Before she could pay him, a blonde knight by the name of Kajin appeared. He exposes the vendor of his trickery and eventually gets her the swan pendant she wanted. She looks at him in admiration because Kajin always looks out for her. She thinks to herself that dragons are destined to serve the hero who will save the world, and she believes that Kajin will be that hero. In her room, Kuren is seen packing up her belongings in a small bag. When Kajin enters her room, he laughs at this, saying that no one would dare steal from her. Trusting him, Kuren leaves her belongings in the room, including the precious gem entrusted to her by her tribe, and joins Kajin and the rest of their party in their next adventure. Their destination is the same labyrinth where Kuren awoke in the beginning. Kuren battles with a giant beetle and slices it in half with a single fire dragon strike, while the rest of the party collect the spoils of battle. Kuren asks if she could be helping them. Kajin replies that she needs to trust her party and to only do things that she's good at. They then trudge to the boss of the labyrinth, the pot snake. Kajin explains that magic won't work on the beast if it's hiding in its pot, but if it is smashed, then it will get angry and come out. He assigns Kuren to lead the attack, while the rest of them will follow and protect Kuren with the best of their abilities. Kuren charges and tackles the pot, prompting the giant snake to pop out. As promised, the party follows suit. However, the snake starts to glow a greenish color. She manages to avoid its barrage of attacks, waiting for Kajin to perform the final blow. But it doesn't take long for the giant snake to envelop Kuren with its tail. She shouts for help, but no one came forward. The snake then bares its fangs, and Kuren finds herself paralyzed. Kajin approaches her lying on the floor and explains that after the snake releases poison, it will become temporarily weak, implying that she was merely a bait for the party to deliver the final blow. The rest of the party collects the spoils and leaves Kuren half conscious on the cave floor. After waking up, she manages to find her way out of the cave with one thing in mind, the purple gem entrusted to her by her tribe. She went back to her residence, battered and limping, only to find out that Kalyos had stolen all of her belongings, including the gem. The next day, she went around asking people if they had seen Kalyos, but to no avail. Eventually, she got hungry and made her way into a restaurant. This is where she first encountered Fifths, the solo eater, a man known for being strong enough to travel solo in labyrinths. She immediately becomes enamored by him and spends the next few days following him around and eating what he eats. Little did she know, Fifths noticed her and secretly encouraged her to eat delicious food and even buy a new coat. That was the last time she saw him, but this brief experience was able to heal her heart from being betrayed. However, she realized that she needed money to continue eating good food. Thus, she began her journey as an adventurer. The next scene brings us back to the present day, where we can see Nick scanning a jewelry shop to buy a replacement for Curran's swan pendant that he broke. He then runs into Agathe, the blue-haired idol, who he promptly asks for advice regarding the situation about Curran. Nick is worried about Curran's reaction or lack thereof, about the pendant being broken and that she might be hiding her true feelings. But Agathe makes him realize that he's being selfish and only wants to apologize by giving Curran something which she says she is also guilty of doing when she first met him. She says that instead of buying the pendant, he should become the gift himself instead. While Nick ponders about this, he sees Curran happily eating happonyaki. She offers it to him and laughs at his reaction as he eats it. He watches her laugh gleefully and he thinks to himself that Curran must normally be this cheerful. After a brief talk on the bridge, Curran lets Nick know that he doesn't need to worry about the pendant and that she's better off without it. Later, the party returns to the tavern where they are each met with enthusiastic greetings after returning from their first labyrinth. Curran thinks to herself that she feels warm with her current party members, giving her the courage to get rid of the swan pendant entirely. At the end of the episode, the party is asked to search the Labyrinth of Bonds for the sacred blade called the Sword of Bonds and leaves their response to the challenge to be answered in the next episode. If this video reaches 300 likes, we'll make a part 2. Subscribe for more and I will see you guys soon.